Hey y'all, welcome back to my kitchen. I'm Ashley, and this week we're trying something a little different. I'm gonna take you side by side with me in the kitchen, and we're gonna make a 30-minute meal for dinner. We are going to make a Cajun-inspired shrimp and grits recipe. It is super fast to make, it's delicious, I know you're gonna love it. So the key to a 30-minute meal is that you have all your ingredients in front of you. We like to call that professionally mise-en-place, which means everything in its place. That means you've got your onion already chopped, you've got your celery close by, your shrimp, but everything we're making today is close by and not still in the refrigerator. So you're running back and forth between cooking and gathering your ingredients. Rule number one in getting a dinner to the table fast is have all your ingredients. Second, make sure you know what you're cooking. So if you're following a recipe, give it a good read through before you go ahead and start cooking, and that'll eliminate a lot of time in going back and forth. We're gonna do this together. I hope that you follow along, and let's make a delicious dinner together. To get started, I'm going to take a pound of shrimp, and for this recipe, I like to keep the tail on because you can pick it up from the grits and just eat it, but you can totally take the tail off if you want. So we're gonna start with marinating it. So I'm going to toss in a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. We're gonna do a sprinkle of salt. And then I like to use an all-purpose seasoning here. I'm from Louisville, so this is a hometown seasoning. It's called Dano's. I'm using their spicy blend. It's a multi-purpose seasoning, so everything is in here but salt. And that way you're not adding a lot of ingredients. So when I'm doing a quick meal, I like to use multi-purpose seasoning, and I really love theirs. It's different from anything that I've tried in the market. And again, it doesn't have salt, so you can add a ton for flavor, and then add salt as you wish for your dietary preferences. So I'm gonna go ahead and just load this in here. And you're gonna add a lot because we are making shrimp and grits, which is a southern dish, which means there's lots of flavor in there. So don't be shy on that seasoning. And we'll toss it around to fully combine. So we're making a little bit of a marinade here. And I'm actually gonna add even more because I want these shrimp to be fully coated with seasoning before we put them down in the grits. We've got the shrimp, we've got the multi-purpose seasoning, and we've got just a little bit of salt. And now we're gonna set this aside in the refrigerator and let it marinate for about 30 minutes. Just kidding, this is a 30-minute meal. We're gonna let it marinate until it's time to put in the grits. So probably like 10 minutes. All right, now that these shrimp are in the refrigerator, let's go ahead and do the cooking in the pot that everything's gonna be finished in. I've got the burner on about medium-high heat, and I'm going to go ahead and add some of the vegetables. We will begin with some unsalted butter. We're gonna let that melt down. So while this is melting, let me tell you about one of my favorite tips with getting food on the table fast. So I'm a big believer in meal prep. I know it seems kind of overwhelming to some, but it is the key to getting meals on the table really fast. So I like at the very beginning of the week, like on a Sunday, or if your week starts on a Monday or whatever day it starts on, I like to go ahead and chop up some ingredients that I use a lot of. So for example, I use a ton of onion. I make omelets in the morning. I usually have onion in most of my dishes in the evening when I'm making dinner. So I'll take about 3 or 4 onions and just dice them up and keep them in a container. And that way they're already done in the fridge, and I'm just pulling them out to cook the meal rather than chopping them before the meal. I do the same thing with bell peppers. I'll have them in salads, or I'll have them in my omelets. In this case, we're gonna have them in shrimp and grits. And that way they're already chopped and out of the way. And it also encourages me to eat a lot healthier during the week too, because it's ready. The butter is melted, and we're gonna go ahead and add the Cajun Trinity. So that is going to be celery, and then it's going to be green bell pepper, and it's going to be onion. But I like to divide that up where you have 2 parts onion to 1 part celery and bell pepper. So if you have a half a cup of onions, then you've got a 1/4 cup of celery and a 1/4 cup of bell pepper. And that is the Cajun trio. They call it the Trinity. And that is at the heart and soul of any Cajun cuisine. And that is going to be the theme of our shrimp and grits today. We'll go ahead and let this cook over medium-high heat. I'm gonna add a little pinch of salt. And adding that little bit of salt actually causes the ingredients to soften even more and the water to come out. And that'll get it to our soft stage in about 5 minutes. I also like to add extra heat when I'm cooking Cajun food. I'm gonna add in a little bit of jalapeno with the Trinity. And that can be totally optional if you are making this for family meal and you all don't have spicy preferences, then you definitely can omit that. I just like to add a little extra heat. And it kind of depends what kind of jalapeno you have, right? If it's not super spicy, it'll just give you the peppery taste, but not the kick. So we'll add that in there with the Cajun Trinity. Meanwhile, I'm going to preheat my oven to 375 degrees, and the rack is going to be in the middle position. And so we are going to take this pan, once we have the grits cooked in, we're going to layer the shrimp on top and put it in the oven, and it's going to finish cooking in there. So I'm going to go ahead and preheat the oven real fast, 375 degrees. All right, so the onion is starting to get a little translucent. We call that it's softening up, and so it's not really bright white and it's starting to get a little limp. That's what you're looking for. And I'm going to add in some garlic cloves. And so they're just minced garlic, and we're gonna stir it around for 30 seconds just until you start smelling that garlic. You don't want it to burn. So once you start smelling it, then you know that it's cooked long enough. It's called blooming. So we're blooming that garlic. Smells delicious. I love garlic. Then we're going to go ahead and add in some water. Woo, facial. Cajun smelling facial. So we're gonna add in water, and then we are going to add in a little bit of cream. It's gonna give us the creamy grits. And then we are going to stir in some instant grits. So you can use like corn grits or regular grits. I like to use instant when I'm trying to do a 30-minute meal. They cook really fast, but I also have used like a corn grit or a polenta, and that's really good too. It just takes a little bit more time, like probably 2 or 3 times the amount of time. So let's go with instant grits when we're trying to do a quick dinner on the table. And I'm going to go ahead and stir that in to the liquid. And just stir until it's fully kind of combined in there, and then we're gonna turn up the heat and bring it to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, then we're going to reduce it down to a simmer. And when the grits thicken, we're gonna stir frequently. When the grits thicken, then you know that they are ready to have the shrimp put on top. This isn't gonna take a lot of time because the pan's already hot. Also, at this point, if you wanna kick it up another notch, kind of sound like Emerald with that. But if you wanna kick up the spice, I know there's already jalapeno in there. There weren't too many, but I like to add some hot sauce in at this time too. So I just do a couple of drops, and that just encourages that spicy Cajun feel that we're going for here. And then just stir it in, and we'll wait for this to come to a boil. Okay, so here you see it's starting to kind of rapidly boil, so we'll turn the heat down just a little bit so it goes back to a simmer. Make sure that none of the ingredients get scorched on the bottom. That's why we're stirring and just turning the heat down just a little bit. And then when you really start to see big bubbles, that's the grits getting thicker, and so there's less room for the liquid to pop out, and so that's when you know you're getting close. So it's thickening up considerably here. We're getting closer. I'm gonna go ahead and take out the shrimp from the refrigerator because we will take this off heat in just a few minutes. You can even hear like it thickening, right? So like the bubbles they pop more, and they just sound like they're gurgling even louder. And you can see the grits are really a lot thicker here, so that's exactly what we want to look for. All right, when it gets really thick like this and it's bubbling, be careful because it can kind of pop up because the mixture is so thick. So just be careful if you've got littles close by. We're about a minute out, and then we'll take it off heat and add in some cheddar. I always like to have tasting spoons close by so I can just take a little taste throughout cooking. Now this is gonna be scorching hot, so I'm gonna try not to burn my tongue. But I wanna make sure that the grits are not mealy and they're cooked. Almost there. So I do need to add a little bit of salt, maybe about like a half a teaspoon. And I'm gonna do a little pinch of pepper as well, probably 1/4 teaspoon. I'm gonna make sure like all this loose liquid gets cooked in, so we're super close. That salt was great. Also, pro tip, so you don't dirty so many tasting spoons, taste with this end and then taste with this end. All right, it's great. So I'm gonna take it off the heat, move it actually to a different burner because that burner, even though it's off, will still add heat. So we're gonna move it over. And then we're gonna add some cheddar cheese in. So I like to use an extra sharp cheddar cheese. You can experiment with your different types of cheese, but that's what I love most in this recipe. And we're gonna stir it in. Turning now, there's a little bit more of an orange color. It's gonna be delicious. And we are coming up on that 20-minute mark of cooking. So we are gonna finish this up in the oven, and at 30 minutes, you are going to have a delicious meal ready for dinner. So one more stir all the way around to incorporate those bottom grits that are just kind of hanging out. You wanna make sure that they've got cheddar on them too. And then we are going to put the shrimp on. So what I like to do is just kind of make just like a swirly design going into the center. So you're going to put the shrimp in and then push it about halfway down. So you're kind of nestling it into the grits. All right, so this is going to go in that 375-degree oven for about 7 to 9 minutes. You want to make sure that that shrimp is pink all the way through, and that's when it's cooked. And so I'm going to set a timer, 7 to 9 minutes, pull it out, take a peek, and then we'll eat. All right, it's time to eat. So we've got these shrimp and grits all in one pan. Not a lot of dishes to clean up. This is going to be delicious. Pro tip as well, I have burnt myself on way too many pans coming out of the oven, forgetting that it's hot and it came out of the oven. So I just like to take the end of my oven mitt and just put it on any part that I might be tempted to grab, because I will grab it. Actually, this little guy is not, here we go. So I can't tell you how many times I've grabbed a hot skillet and it is not fun. Let's give this a little bit of a taste here. So you can see the shrimp's tail is pink and the body is white and kind of cooked through. That is a fully cooked shrimp, which is what you want. It's nice and creamy, and the shrimp has a lot of seasoning on it, which is going to be delicious. This will feed at least a family of 4. And I love this when it's in the fall. Like, football and shrimp and grits is one of my favorite things, especially if you've got, you know, people coming over. This is an easy dish to make. Okay, that is so good. I just got a little kick of spice. It's delicious. I love the pepper, the added jalapeno pepper in there, because it gives it the smokiness of a sauteed jalapeno. Great, the shrimp is hot. Okay, so I love that multi-purpose seasoning because it's really herby and bright with all the spicy ingredients that you have. It makes it such a good combination. That's delicious. I'll post a link to their website in my description below so you can grab a bottle of your own. I hope you try the shrimp and grits recipe. It's so delicious. Thanks for joining me this week as we try something a little different and you cooked with me in your kitchen. Hopefully you have this on playback when you're making your meal this week with your family. Please subscribe to our channel and give this episode a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Excuse me. We post new content every week, and we'd love to have you back as a viewer. Until next time, cook great food in your kitchen, share it with those you love, and we'll see you soon.